So yeah, for me, it was placement team. But you can still, even if you're not a part of any teams like this, you can still reach out to immediate seniors or, seniors who are, 2 years older to you. So, and usually people want students to, come to you, juniors to come to you so that they can share the wisdom that they have gained over the last 1 or 2 years.
Right.
So I think maybe you can, if you're a little shy, maybe you can just start by interacting with people in the hostel, and then maybe once you're comfortable with that, you can go ask, just take a contact and ask for a few fun days or a little help. I think people are always willing to help.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Instea Unfiltered, where we talk about life in and beyond Instea with some amazing women who have graduated in the recent years. So today I have with me Meghana, who is a dear friend and senior of mine while I was in Instea. And I'll let you introduce yourself, Meghana.
Sure. Hi, I am Meghana. I am currently doing my PhD in computer science at UT Austin. And before this, I worked in Google for a year and Microsoft for a year. And I graduated from Instea in 2019 with a dual degree in computer science.
Right. Amazing. So you graduated from Instea in 2019 with a dual degree. So if my math is correct, that means you started out in Instea in 2014.
Sure.
So what was that like at the start? Did you have any clear goals or expectations on the career front, on what you wanted to do?
Okay. So no, I didn't. That's the short answer. But yeah, when I joined Instea, it was, like most people, I joined into a branch based on your ranking and all. I did not even know C, which you start in your first semester, which is when I got to know about computer science. I'm like, well, a little bit of computer science, but not at the level of programming, for sure. And then I think it was, I have no idea what I'm going to do. I think first semester, we had one of our professors who taught us a basics in computer science, which was very interesting. And I am a little driven towards math solving. So I think that because you have a lot of math stuff involved with computer science, that attracted me towards computer science initially. And then, well, I did my internship at Microsoft in my first year. Which I did not, well, in my first semester, you get this basics of C. In second semester, in my year, we were not even connected to the department. We did not have any course from computer science. So it was almost as if we were just normal students and not computer science students in our second semester. But then before I even got into the foundations of computer science, I did an internship at Microsoft, which, I guess helped me navigate towards, the computer science stuff. Yeah.
So you mentioned that you worked for Microsoft briefly and then also Google. So give us an idea about what it's like to work in the roles that you did in those companies.
Sure. So I worked as a software engineer in both Microsoft and Google. A typical day of work would be you are assigned a project or two projects in general. You go, you have meetings, you discuss with your team, the project team. You write design docs, write down get the design reviews done, and then code, make sure, deploy it, test the telemetry, and then that's the life cycle of a project.
Pipeline, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So that is typically have meetings, discussions, and then coding or documenting stuff.
I see. And
Yeah.
so the role was, because it was the software engineer role at both places, you found it pretty similar.
Yes, it was pretty similar actually. Well, the the pipeline might change a bit. So there may be a little more documentation in one company, or a particular way of documentation in a company, or a particular way you have to do code reviews. But the overall high level flow is the same in both. Yeah, and there's sometimes you also have some teams, well, they have this customer support where you have to be on call and take calls from customers and solve those urgent issues then and there. So that's a pretty stressful week.
I see. I see. Okay, that's actually pretty interesting, because from the outside, it's easy to assume that being a software engineer is just very a solitary journey where you don't really interact too much with teams, because often in Instea, when we do coding intensive projects, they often are individual projects, but in the workforce, I can see that it's very collaborative.
Yeah,
that's super interesting.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask a little bit more about your internship and job experiences. So every internship that you had, did it reaffirm that initial interest you had in CS and math and make you feel, yes, this is the path that I want to go to? Or did you have experiences where you started to question, for whatever reason, whether this was really what you wanted to do?
Well, for me, it always reaffirmed me that I wanted to do go into computer science for sure. I did 3 internships at Microsoft, and then I did a research internship. So every internship was a different experience, and it taught me something, and I really liked really liked working there. I enjoyed working there, and I could see some of the concepts, that you studied being applied there, and how it's being used by the public. So I think that motivated me towards, going into computer science and go look for a job in computer. Yeah. So, but then, I'll just stretch a little more. Yeah. When I was in my 6th semester, I guess, I was really interested in the courses that I was doing. So I wanted to try out research, and the internships that I mentioned were all done with Microsoft. So it was more software engineering oriented internships. So I wanted to do a research internship, and then applied for a bunch of research internship scholarships. I got a SINBO scholarship, and then did my research internship with one of the really awesome professors. I really enjoyed my internship. He gave me a different perspective to computer science, and well, then I joined the industry for sure, but now I'm doing a PhD.
Right. No, that's okay. So that's very interesting to me, because you do hear of people who were interested in research, do a research internship, then realize it's not for them, and then go into industry. But it's not very often that you see people going into industry and then coming back to research. Maybe that's also a CS specific thing for you to get industry experience and then come back to a PhD. But how did you navigate that? Because it sounded like you had a really good experience in your research internship. So did you consider going to grad school straight after your degree? What was your headspace at that time?
Yeah. So, well, in CS, I do see a lot of students who go for an industry experience, and then maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 years later, they go to academia. I personally know a lot of my classmates and a lot of my seniors who do that. So I think in CS it's a little common these days. For me, PhD is a long time commitment.
Yeah.
When I did my internship, it was for 10 weeks, and though enjoyed my internship, I wasn't sure if I was ready to take that commitment. If I was really interested in it, if I would be able to handle all the lows in an internship, in a PhD. So that's why I did not apply to it then, because I spoke to a lot of my seniors, and they did mention that you need to be sure to go ahead. Well, then I took up a job, and when I was working, I was also simultaneously working with this particular professor, and I continued working. I've seen a lot of lows and highs, and I realized that I am interested in it. Even if there are lows, I do want to go forward, solve that issue, whatever I'm facing. So I thought, then I spoke to a lot of my professors, and once I met this person in Microsoft Research, where he told me almost all grad students are in that dilemma when they want to go to, whether they want to go to grad school or not, if they'll be good enough or not, and you just have to take a leap of faith. And I think that was a very good suggestion to me. And then I took a leap of faith, and I decided I'll try out PhD. Worst case, even if I don't like it, I can go back to my software engineering. I'm sure. I mean, I'll be able to get a good job that interests me.
So then academia versus maybe the software engineering role that you did, how is the CS different on both sides?
So there's a lot of difference, I feel. So in industry, you're given a project. That's the first difference. So you're given a project, you brainstorm on how to solve the project. Usually it is picking up pieces, resources that you have, and then brainstorming a bit, and then you get um, you get a idea. You get an idea, and then once you get an idea, you have to go through a series of processes before it comes to the production. You have to check if the idea is feasible with a lot of teams. You have to check if it's good to be deployed, or what is the manpower, how much effort does it take, and then even the coding. There's a particular way that you write. There's this industry standard that you maintain, which does take up your time in your coding, versus when you code without those standards. And then there are code reviews, intensive code reviews. Along with this, there are design reviews. So it's a long path. Whereas in academia, the problems you're solving are very different, because though both industry and academia have a end goal, that is, you want to advance the research, or you want to help out, solve some major problem that people are facing. In academia, it's a more free space compared to an industry, where you can explore ideas. You do not have any project where given to you. You identify problems, and then you work on it. And again, you try out different problems to check the state of the art, try out different problems, and then different solutions, and then get one solution. The solution part, getting the solution takes time, usually in academia. And the path after that is a little shorter, where you you code up, you evaluate with other benchmarks, and then you publish a paper. This part is it's paper driven, whereas the project driven. So here it's a lot more, you write papers, the process is a little, how do I put it?
It seems to me like, I think in academia, especially in CS, the goal is really to solve the problem, but you're not really working on making that project the best for the end user. Whereas it makes sense that in industry, you put in a lot of emphasis in making sure that end product is really good, and you have all of these check marks. Cool. So that was a nice discussion about industry versus academia. But what not too many people know about Meghana was the way we met was because we were both part of the placement team. And when I was in my first year in the placement team, Meghana was actually a core.
Yeah.
So she was a placement core for CS, but she oversaw a lot of the placements at IIT Madras. So she's one of the people with the unique insight of all the data and the trends, or at least at that time. So I can start us off. To my knowledge, there are three main categories of placements. Well, actually, there were two. It was core and non-core.
Yes.
Core basically meant if you were doing something related to your major, and non-core meant you were doing something that was not related to your major.
Yeah.
And within non-core, there was, again, delineations. There was the vast swath of software and IT roles.
Yeah.
Then there were some data science roles. And then there were the miscellaneous finance consult. I mean, I call them miscellaneous. They were very complicated, but roles like that. So do you want to walk us through maybe what those splits are like, what that process works like, just your experience in the placement team?
How the placement process works?
Yeah, right.
Okay. So, well, as you mentioned, there's a core jobs that you get. There are IT jobs that you get, software engineering roles. Well, they're core for CS, but non-core for majority of the branches.
Right.
And then there are finance roles, consult, and data science roles. I'm not sure if I'm missing something.
Yeah, no, I think that's about it. That's about it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so for a student, the process is you write the first initially from August till November. They're usually tests. Each company, so you first register on the placement portal, you apply for a company, the company shortlists you. Mostly they shortlist all the people for the return test. And or sometimes, very rarely do they not shortlist you for the return test. And then based on your resume, then you write a written test. They next shortlist you for the next round. Typically, for non-CS companies, there's a group discussion that happens where you were grouped into groups, and you are given a topic. You discuss on the topic, and then they select you based on your discussion. And for CS, I've noticed that you do not usually have that group discussion based on your coding test, where you get 2 to 3 problems that you have to solve within, say, 1 hour or 1.5 hours sometimes. You get selected, and then there is this placement season. So that season is starts on December 1st. Well, I do not know how the process is right now, but it starts on December 1st for sure, I think, even now. Then there are slots where the companies are slotted so that if you interview to a bunch of companies in a slot, if you receive an offer from a slot, you do not you have to accept or reject those offers. You're not allowed to sit for the next slot onwards. And this process continues for like 10 days or so. And usually it's slotted, and there are various metrics for slotting. And based on this metrics, the companies are slotted in every sector. So say you're taking consult company and the CS company, you do not really compare those companies. The audience for those companies are usually different, and you have the slotting for each kind of companies. And then and then you get offers.
So we populate all the slots all the way till the end of placement week. So that was like a nice overview, but I want to go all the way back to the first step. So this whole process drags on for a semester, and it's usually the most high stress semester for most people, that placement semester. But you started off with the resumes shortlists. And I think the process of building that resume is not a one semester job. It happens over many years.
Yes.
So there's two resume regrets that I have come across while I was in the placement team and also when I was in Instea. There's one set of people who feel like they figured out too late what it was that they wanted to do, and that their resume did not have all the things that they wish they had. And then there's another set of people I know who, it's not that they didn't get started early, it's just that they were interested in so many different things that it's hard for them to make a coherent narrative on their resume. So what, in your experience, how much does that resume matter when it comes to, say, different kinds of roles? And I know there are different expectations, for instance, if you go into consulting, but like, say, if you want to get a data science job or a software job or a vast majority of jobs that are not super resume oriented, how much does that matter?
Yeah, so for software engineering jobs, resume matters only till an extent. So, well, they do check what kind of internships you have, what kind of projects you have done, but they also heavily rely on the coding skills that you showcase in the written test and in the interviews. So the resume round is generally very lightly taken, at least in campus placements. I mean, in campus placements for software engineering roles, the recruiters do check your resume, but again, as I mentioned, your coding skills are very important. If you can showcase really good coding skills, you're in a good place, I think. But I have seen that for core jobs, your resume is important. For consult jobs, the kind of resume that you showcase is important, because I guess they have a certain kind of expectations on the base. Well, at least for core jobs, what kind of projects that you have done, or what kind of um, courses that you have done is kind of important. And for consult, what kind of if you okay, well, consult has a lot of case-based solving scenarios, right? Those are very important, but along with that, they do check if you have good leadership skills, or you have that. They check if you have that ability to solve cases through your resume. So well, for that, it is a little important. But for software engineering roles, again, it's not very as important as the others. For data science roles, again, they do check if you have good data science background, if you have done a project or two, or you have done an internship or two, because even though they test you out the data science concepts in the interview, it is hard to judge. So they do walk you through they do ask you to walk you through your resume and explain the projects, the data science projects that you have done.
Right. So would it be a fair summary for me to say that, say, if you're looking for a job, or if you have some anxiety going into your 7th semester that you think your resume isn't as impressive as you'd like, that resume is not going to be holding you back from getting a job? Maybe it makes it a little difficult for you to get certain dream jobs if you fixated on them based on which field that they're in.
Yeah, true. I agree with that. Yeah.
Right. So then, because you were also then part of the placement team, you got a really good insight into the kinds of roles that the placement process had to offer. So at any point, did it feel to you that maybe you should try out finance, or maybe you should try out consult, because you were exposed to them much more than, say, the average student in Instea by interacting with the recruiters and such?
No, I didn't. So the thing is, I guess I was very interested in what I was doing, the classes that I was taking, the projects that I was doing, that I didn't have to try out. I didn't feel the need to try out something else. I was happy, and I was occupied with what I was doing to even try out other stuff. So I think for me, I didn't want to even, check out something else when I was happy with what I was doing.
Right.
Yeah,
So
but
it seems to me like your dilemma, if any, was where do I do the CS, but not if you wanted to do the CS.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think into my fourth semester, into my fourth and fifth semesters, I think I was pretty sure I wanted to be in CS. I people so I didn't even think about research then. I was more into, I want to do computer science, whatever way it is, because I was very interested in what I was learning, and I wanted to apply it to the real world. So that is my, that was my driving force all the time. So I didn't feel the need to go out and try out other things. Even though I talked to a lot of recruiters, a lot of people who were very interested in finance or consult, who were, I talked to course from those verticals. They seem very interested, and they're really exciting areas as well. But it was never I wouldn't say exciting enough for me. I never really thought about it. I was happy with what I was doing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's nice. Always the less dilemma, the better. But I wanted to then ask you, because you said that you had a couple of internships at Microsoft, and you had a very impressive resume by most standards, by the time you were going into your final year. What do you think was the main experience that got you your first job? And do you think you would have got that job even if you didn't have that experience? Were there other ways to get to the job that you got, which did not involve a resume like yours?
Yeah, I think I did my 3 internships at Microsoft. I got a pre-placement offer and I joined Microsoft. So I had a I I had a path to Microsoft. But even if I didn't have any internships at Microsoft, yes, I would have gotten into Microsoft. I know a lot of my classmates who did not have internships at Microsoft. Well, they had really good internships, or may not be as well. I do not, I cannot say if an internship is good or not. It is up to them. But yes, even if they did not have internships at Microsoft or industry, like corporate internships, I would put it that way. Corporate internships, I think they did get into good companies that interest them. One of the reasons is, again, for at least for CS, it's a lot of there's a lot of weight put on the coding skills. So if you can develop your coding skills, you can crack interviews, Microsoft, Google interviews, or any other interviews, companies that come for CS students to campus, right? To develop these coding interviews, I think you need a lot of practice. I feel, in my opinion, it is like the competitive coding practice to me is like the JE practice that you do when you go into IT. You need the concepts. Even when you're applying for the JE exam, you need the concepts. Even in this, you need CS concepts. But only through a lot of practice will you get those ideas instantly at the given time. So I think there are many platforms like LeetCode, HackerRank, and Codeforces. There are many platforms like that, and you need to keep practicing, and then keep giving tests. There are tests that there are tests, weekly tests, I think, on CodeChef and platforms like that. You keep giving those tests and you keep improving your skills. So I think that is one of the very important skills to develop for a CS interview. Yeah, and I think peer learning is an important thing. If you, what happens in this when you're practicing for this competitive coding tests and for the, for campus placements, is sometimes you tend to get stuck on a few problems. You do not know how to solve them. You search on the net. You may not even understand what they're trying to say, and whether you're able to grasp it and whether you'll be able to apply it. I think to solve that, you need to have peer learning. If a group of friends discuss and try to solve problems, one person in the group may understand things, they may help communicate better, and you may be able to move forward easily. So I think that peer learning is important. I feel initially, I used to hear this a lot from IT Bombay folks, actually, friends of mine from IT Bombay, which I found to be very interesting. So I feel my peer has helped me in that, and we have helped each other. So this competitive coding is an important part to placements, even if you do or do not have good internships.
Right, right. So would you say that some of this carries over to, say, the data science roles as well?
Yes. So there's a little, again, for data science, I think projects are important. So even if you do not do internships, if you can showcase projects that you have done in data science, even if they're not in, Microsoft or data science in Microsoft or Google or companies like that, there should be, if you have done good projects and you know the concepts, I think that is more important, that which you need to show in a data science interview. For, say, finance or consulting, I think it's a little different, where it's, as I mentioned before, it's a little resume driven, but then if you can say, for consulting, if you can solve cases very well, if you can show some good leadership skills, even if you do not have those related internship experiences, I think you'll be able to land a good job there.
I see. Okay, so that's great, I think, for a freshie or a second year to hear that there's multiple paths to make it to the job that they want to. You don't necessarily have to fit one cookie cutter mold. So you touched upon this a little bit about working with your peers for competitive coding. And I think this is definitely on a lot of freshie girls' minds, because you're often told that networking is very important, and different people will tell you different things about how important networking is. So in your experience while you were in Instea, how did you network? How did you break through just your immediate circle, maybe your wingmates or your classmates? And then how has that helped you as you've transitioned into industry or now into research?
Yeah, so I agree to that. So it's a little difficult especially for girls to break your boundary and then go and meet people, network. So for me, I think placement team has been one of the main forces that helped me to network. When I was a deputy placement coord or a placement coord and then a placement coord, I had a direct contact with a lot of seniors who are just graduating, and maybe they're going to academia or industry. So you interact with them a lot. That sometimes gives you a good helps you make personal connections with them. So even if you're not like best friends and all, you know each other, and you would help. You can reach out and you can help. Yeah. So I think for me, placement team has been one of the very helpful experiences in my life.
I totally agree.
Yeah, and then along with that, so this, let me tell you how it helped me. Well, one of the important things during the placement process is resume writing, right? even if you have very impressive resume, writing it in an orderly fashion is very important. So you would want to get your resume reviewed by people. It can be your peers, it can be your family, it can be your seniors. So if it's a seniors, so peers are in the same boat as you, so it may be a little difficult. So it would be best if you could contact seniors. See what happened. And there can be various different kinds of seniors. So, well, there may be a few seniors may be may have a path in a particular direction. A few others may have a path in a different direction. So, if you can reach out to the senior that you think are in the path that you want to follow, they can help you out the best in resume reviewing, and then making it a better, resume. So, uh, well, okay. So,
yeah. So
it helps in resume. Sorry.
No, sorry. Continue.
Sorry. So it helps in, say resume reviewing, or later, when I wanted to go into academia, I had a lot of seniors who were in different universities, and they were doing the second year, third year PhD. So I reached out to them asking what are the factors that I have to consider, or give me fun days on how do I apply, and things like that. They help you out, help you make good decisions, so decisions that are apt for you. So they help out in such ways. So yeah, for me it was placement team, but you can still, even if you're not a part of any teams like this, you can still reach out to immediate seniors, or seniors who are 2 years older to you. So and usually people want students to come to you, juniors to come to you, so that they can share the wisdom that they have gained over the last 1 or 2 years.
Right.
So I think maybe you can, if you're a little shy, maybe you can just start by interacting with people in the hostel, and then maybe once you're comfortable with that, you can go ask, just take a contact and ask for a few fun days, or a little help. I think people are always willing to help.
Right. So it seems to me that, especially for the career-centric fun days that you got, that the placement team was an invaluable way for you to get to meet a lot of seniors, but also engaging with your department a lot more, which I think people like. At least it's harder to do so, because in the POR space, in the extracurricular space, you do meet a lot of people, but not all of them are from your department or on the path that you're on. But especially if you want to do code or research, definitely it's important to engage with your department a little bit more.
I think one of the points that people mention when you want people to join placement team is this, that you get
this whole episode is a giant ad for the placement team. No, but I do agree. I think it is definitely difficult, right, to find, say, somebody who's 4 years senior to you when you're a freshie meeting a fifth year, and these sorts of processes definitely help socialize within the department. So let's see. So a couple more questions before we wrap. One of them being, so suppose there's a first year or a second year coming up to you now, and they're very unsure about what they want to do, what they want to make of their Instea life. And these days, there's so much pressure starting so early about getting an internship, after your first year summer, and building that resume as much as you can. So what would you say to someone who is worried that they're not starting early enough? Or what would you say to someone who is interested in a lot of things, but is afraid they're not going to get time to try it all before they graduate?
Yeah, so the first case is building your resume from the first year itself. I think it's not very important. So you don't have to take that pressure. So you can, you should try out what interests you. Maybe if it's good to get an internship because you get a different perspective, but it's not like if you don't get an internship, you may not land a job. It's definitely not like that. So I think you should um, try out things, but you should not stress about it. You should enjoy the process. So that is very important. Even if, as I mentioned, as we talked earlier, uh, even if you do not have a very impressive resume in the early stages of your education, it's okay, because 4 years later, people do not check what you have done in your first year, first semester winter vacation or summer vacation. They do check the last internship or the before that, but it's not, they do not stress mainly on your resume. So we should try, it's, do not stress and enjoy what you're doing. So try out different things, try out internships, but if you're not able to, if you think this is unsuccessful, but it's fine. I mean, you can, there's always the next time. You can do projects. Say you're in your second year and you feel you have not, well, second year is also a little early. Late second year, or third year, beginning of your third year. If you think you want to change a bit and you have not done well till now, you can take up. There are a lot of startups that do internships throughout the semester. You can try out those. You can maybe talk to professors, do some projects. Professors would want to give you projects and nurture you in that area. So those things, those things show up a lot more on your resume than what you have done in your first year or second year winter internship or things like that. So I think it's fine. You can still build up your resume later. You don't have to do it from first semester. So I always took my winters off because
nice.
Once I was going to do an internship after my third semester, that is second year winter internship. But I went and talked to, it was in a startup. I went to talk to that person and I just wanted to take that winter off. I mean, semesters are also stressful. So sometimes taking that break will help you, concentrate on things when you're back to campus. So I decided I'll have my winters off. So I didn't do anything during my winters. I know people have done it. It's good if you do. But even if you don't, I think it's still fine.
That's so reassuring to hear. I think someone who's like, I didn't do things in the winter, because I completely agree. I've always felt that too, that the vacation period is also for you to cool off after the semester, because the semesters are also quite intense. But that's a decision I guess everyone makes for themselves. But it's not essential. It's not essential to start in your first year. But another thing I feel like you were telling us is, it seems like it's more important the quality of what you do, how that relates to the role that you want to get to, and following through till completion is so much more important than maybe amassing a lot of little experiences.
That is, I totally agree on that. So I did a project with a professor which took up a lot of time, but I stayed with it. So it was supposed to be a 2-month project. It was a development project with the government of Tamil Nadu, but it was supposed to be a 2-month project, but it took almost 8 to 10 months. And the asks keep changing. It's an end-to-end development project, so it's actually deployed on laptops. So that takes up time, and I think good completion was important. I think that, as you mentioned, is very important. That what is the quality of work, and have you done an end-to-end good project? I think that shows up very well on your resume compared to just small projects that you have done. I wouldn't say small in terms of the number. It's one project after another without good
the depth.
Good depth. Yeah. So
sorry, you were saying?
Regarding the point where you were mentioning, if someone wants to try out different things and they're not sure, right? I think I feel you can try out 2 different things when you're in Instea, or at least one thing. You can take one project a semester try it out along with your accounts. Try it out and see if that works for you. I know people who tried out things that did not like it, and then they moved on to another project, which they're, project as in another area, which they're still into right now after two to 3 years after they've graduated. So I think, well, you may not be, you can attend these clubs that they have, sometimes the finance clubs or, clubs like data science clubs. You can attend those clubs, understand what the area is about, and then you can see. But maybe you can take one at a time and then figure that out. If you're enjoying something, then I think you should continue, so that before you jump on to the next one to check if another thing is interesting, you should really understand if you really like the one that you're doing. And if you're interested in that, you should, I think, continue doing that.
Right. So to summarize all of that, the first thing that we went over was that don't feel stressed to start as soon as you come to Instea. You can definitely take your time, and there's different ways to go about it, but it's okay to actually take rest during the winter breaks. And yeah, it's to amass experiences that are more in depth and quality, that show a recruiter that your experience is aligned with what it is that they're looking for.
Yeah.
Great. So that was amazing career fun days, but let's wrap it up on a slightly more nostalgic note.
Okay.
So what impact do you think your undergraduate degree has had on your life since you've graduated?
I think first thing is the kind of people that you meet. It's not all, well, Insta is filled with people from different parts of the country, right? So you get to meet with people with different ideologies and opinions. So you get to understand people, you get to see things from different, not just one perspective, but 2 to 3 different perspectives, and agree to disagree as well. So I think that you learn that when you're in Insta, and along with that you learn to, well, this is a little aside, you learn to live in some adverse conditions as well.
True.
Yeah. So well, I think the kind of interactions that you have with people, just your classmates or your seniors, your friends, it gives you a different take on on life and things. That always has a good impact on you. It makes you more open-minded, I guess.
Right. And say, like, on the career front, have you found that even now, like, say you continued on in industry for maybe 3 or 4 years, do you think that say your GPA or your IIT tag, how much of that wanes over time?
Well, it does decrease a lot. It affects you till the first 1-2 years. So your IIT rank decreases, the importance of it decreases a lot by the time you come to placements. So people, this is how people think, that whatever your IIT rank is 4 or 5 years, before it's 4 or 5 years long ago. So you don't really care about your IIT rank much. Your GPA plays an important, not much, but it does play an important till an extent, maybe a year or two when you're changing job. It does not even play that much of an important when you're changing jobs. Maybe a little, the first job, or people notice you for the first 2 years, like first 2 jobs. They just have that impression on your mind. Oh, okay, a good GPA, that's it. After that, they don't really care. So you're not going to stress about it. But one thing is that I noticed this for MS admits, that I've personally seen that MS admits do, when in selection process, they do check your GPA and your IIT rank and which IIT you are from.
Oh, I
Yes.
see. I see.
So that helped. I feel it helps all IIT Madras students, first of all. I've seen that importance to IIT Madras in MS admits. Well, these are the first things. It does play a little more important in admits than industry, I would say. But
Right.
again, what you have done and what you want to do in MS, all that, the SOP and stuff, all the stuff,
Right.
recommendation
Right.
letters, they play a very important role. But this also does to an extent that I've seen.
I
Uh,
see.
yeah.
But it
So
looks like for jobs, it
yeah,
wanes, which
yeah,
is also fair, right? You
yeah,
don't want one number from how
true,
many ever years ago
yeah,
determining your life forever,
yeah,
which is also nice to know.
yeah,
Which I hope quells some anxiety that some
yeah,
students may have.
true, true, true.
And yeah, okay. So thank you so much, Meghana, for this part of the podcast. We'll now get started on a rapid fire. So I'll ask you a couple of questions, and maybe you can give me an answer super quick
Okay.
to all of them. And hopefully, our viewers can then get to know you better after listening to all your fun days. So the first question is, what PORs were you a part of while you were in Instea?
I was a part of placement team for three
Right,
years.
right.
Uh, Deputy placement card, and then a placement code.
The whole vertical.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, what was your favorite hangout spot in Instea?
It was my hostel. I
Your
had
hostel.
so I had like amazing set of friends. We used to hang out in our rooms, do all crazy stuff. I mean, crazy, have fun, different
Right.
activities and all. Yeah, it was our hostel rooms all the time.
So Sharavati, this was
Sharavati, yes, Sharavati
Sharavati.
hostel. Yeah, and well,
Okay.
Tunga also. So we stayed in Tunga for 2 years. So I would say Tunga hostel for 2 years and Sharav hostel for 3 years.
Did you ever stay in Sarayu hostel?
No, thank God.
No, it was Sharavati and Tunga and then back to
Yes,
Sharavati.
yes,
I
yeah.
see. So favorite hangout spot was Sharavati. I don't think I've ever heard that before, but that's the first time to everything. What was the most memorable moment in your Insta life?
Well, there were many. Uh, I would say, okay, I'll say one academic, one non-academic kind of thing. One is when I got my best DDP award. I was like super happy. Non-academic thing, well, the placement season when I was the placement core, it was a lot of fun. And the whole season, I had some amazing friends, some really good work that we did. The whole season was very amazing. So I think that's something I cannot ever forget. It was that's
Right, right. Yeah, no, I can attest to that too. And say, let's see, one Insta regret.
um I don't really have so many of regrets. I usually don't regret much. Um, well, okay. I I love beaches and I didn't go to the beaches as much as I thought. So maybe that.
Oh, I
Yeah,
see. No,
yeah.
that is no. Insti did have good access to some beaches. It was so close to Bessie, which is my favorite beach. And yeah, the last question is if you could only eat one thing from the mess for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Pav bhaji needed.
Pav bhaji, pav bhaji.
Yeah,
Breakfast
yeah.
pav bhaji was good.
Breakfast pav bhaji. It was, well, most of the days it was amazing. I I usually don't go late to classes, but on Wednesdays when the pav bhaji was served, I used to go a little late to classes so that I can peacefully have my breakfast and then go.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
nice. That's
yeah.
nice.
Pav bhaji. It's awesome. You should try it. I mean, anyone who hasn't, you should
I
try.
tried it. I think I might have had breakfast a total of 20 times in those 4 years, but I definitely had the pav bhaji and it is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Meghna, for joining us for this episode.
Thank you for inviting me, and I hope I help people. This thing that you're doing is really good, and people should watch it and take some fun days and contact people. Seniors through this. You can contact me if anyone can contact me if you want. So
Right. So connect with her on LinkedIn and subscribe to this podcast.